I have some people said this is the time to introduce AEW Women's Tag Team Championships. You know my stance on them if I've been fully against them. However, there has been discussions and obviously the whole planning of potentially merging the international with the Continental Championship. Does that leave space for a women's tag team titles? Well, let's look at the potential teams we could have. Well, active teams we have right now, I mean, Penelope Ford and Megan Bain. I mean, is that really it? Well, there's not really anything you could do at that point. Do you bring back Taiji? Well, we don't know when Tai Conti's coming back. Thunderstorm, which was Tony Storm and Thunder Rosa, as a possibility. You could do Club Venus with Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May. I don't think it's the time for them. Sadly, I just honestly don't, because Tony Khan has to book more than one women's match to build another whole title division, and if he doesn't do that, you can't physically do that. It would take time. I don't think TK will put the time into it. All in all, I think Mina Shirakawa as an AEW Women's Champion or TBS champion would be very entertaining with the potential matchups you can definitely get as well.
I absolutely agree. I do think it's going to be fun, but my stance on the tag team titles, I do agree with you. They need to have a plan, right? They need to have teams lined up and, have a plan for it to be properly introduced. They can't just introduce it and then figure it out. I completely agree there. But I do think we're at a point now in wrestling where if the men have it, so should the women. It's as simple as that.
I'm sorry, Alison. I don't agree with you on that. I just really don't. I'm sorry. I just really don't. You can't just give something because somebody deserves it or feel like it has to exist. There should be
you should build it, but you can build it. You have the talent. So, Brock, you don't just introduce them tomorrow, but build
it. I'm saying you can't or you shouldn't.
What I'm also saying is,
you can.
Is it needed? Do you need to do
Yes, it's needed.
Why?
Because
you can.
Women should have equal opportunity to men at the end of the day. I mean, that's the bottom line of this conversation.
Definition of a feminist. Ask Dave Chappelle.
I don't think it's necessary. You don't need it. If it's nothing that needs to exist on the product, you don't have to introduce it. If we introduce everything so everyone gets something, you'll have too many belts. You won't have enough things for that. You need to do everything. I don't think it's needed.
Why should men have tag team titles then?
Because that's what wrestling has always been. And that's what tag teams have always been.
Oh, because it's what it's always... So this is silly. This is a silly argument. I think both...
How's it a silly argument?
Why do both not deserve tag team title belts? Especially if you build the division in the women's side. What's the difference if it's entertaining
do you honestly think TK is going to do it, though? Because I don't. If he only builds one,
I think that's a separate conversation.
Those are two different things. Then that's a qualifier there. You're like, I actually don't believe TK is capable of doing this. Is completely different than women shouldn't have tag team titles. That's right. Those are very. I just
don't think it's needed in AEW, and especially when we're going to get into TNAs and what their tag team title picture is like as well, which is non-existent.
But that's got nothing to do with women. Though. That's got to do with booking.
I'm not saying it's against women or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't think it's needed. Just because you think somebody deserves it, I don't think it's needed.
But here's the thing. I'm a big... I don't know. This is my point on all these women's titles and all this, right? I do not think that if you want to be a wrestler, I think you should have an equal opportunity as a man would, right, if you're a woman. So if you want to be a tag team specialist, you have a friend, you've gone up, through wrestling together. I know multiple women's wrestlers who are on the independent scene in tag teams, right? If they then dream of going to WWE one day as a tag team, that's not really, or AEW.
Or even anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult dream compared to a men's one.
Yeah, but the world doesn't work like that. The world doesn't work like that.
It can, though. I think actually the point is that it can. And it probably should. Not just can, it probably should work that way. I think the point.
It should.
This is a completely other conversation we've gone about women's tag team belts in a whole goddamn circle. Every time it comes up, needed, not needed, this and that. Bad booking, poor booking, all of this around. It always goes back in circles. My thing on the stance is, I don't think AEW needs it. Could they do it? Absolutely, if they put the time and effort into it. But I don't think Tony Khan will. I don't think he will. I do
But
not
surely they
think.
have the talent now where they could start doing, because that women's division
Yeah,
is
yeah,
stacked.
absolutely, you could. But then you have to think about you have the women's championship, you have the TBS championship, and if they're only getting
Mhm.
one matches a week on a TV show on a
Well,
Dynamite
they
and a
need to
Collision,
change that. They need to
well,
change that.
but do you think Tony Khan will? Because I
Well,
don't.
they are. They've been saying they're going to do 2 now a week. I mean, we'll wait
Yeah.
and see, but that's what they've
Well,
said.
how many women's matches we got announced tonight? One tag team. Megan Bain and Penelope Ford against Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm.
Megan Bain's one of the biggest stars in the company right now, and of course
Yeah,
she's announced.
yeah, I
That's
agree.
huge.
I
That could be
agree
a
there.
tag team.
It's
Megan
important.
Bay and Penelope Ford.
I said that. I said that could
Okay.
absolutely
Yes,
be
I
that.
know.
But I'm saying as well, you may think somebody deserves something, and in right they should. Should everyone who enters into a job or all that be offered the same opportunity as anyone else, whether it's sex, gender, or whatever? Absolutely, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Should anyone be paid on the same level? Depends on what you bring to the company. You're paid the differential on that. I'm also saying as well, you may think you want to have something. I think I should get this. I think I should get that because of opportunities and inclusion and all that. I believe everyone should have the absolute chance, no matter. That's why I've always said tag team should be intergender because it's not. It should never be specified as a gender class. It should be allowed for anyone to make a team. You and me, team. Let's go against them. I think that. I don't think you should segregate it by gender. In my personal opinion, I think it should be intersex, intergender. Allow anyone to make a team and have fun with that because you're adding in more titles, you need more TV time, you need more specific gender teams as well. So if one person gets injured, you've lost a team, you have to put them into a singles division
But
or
then
you
that's
don't
like
put them off team.
then you have to build another division, the intergender tag division.
No, you would just take them all and put them in the same thing. You put some of the women team you want to put in there, some of the
The
men team.
actual issue with that is there's a lot of people on both sides who there's a lot of people who would be comfortable, but there's a lot of people on both sides of that who wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable in that situation. And that's why both WWE's policy and Tony Khan's own policy for years has been, that's not going to happen in both their companies.
Well, that's not very inclusive then.
Well, it is because I think
How-
I think there's a difference.
There
between
is a very
seeing
clear
a
difference
man beat
there.
up a woman than
Yeah.
seeing two women
It's
wrestle.
wrestling.
I do believe that
It's
there is a
wrestling.
difference
It's
there.
not an
Yes,
actual
but
fight.
let's say if somebody on that roster has been
Yeah, but
beaten up, in a relationship before or
it's-
Yeah,
something.
well,
Yeah,
then you
that's
don't.
why-
Then you
that's
don't
the
do the.
reason
Then
why.
then you don't do the tag team. Go be a single star.
this
Then
is-
that's not very inclusive either, is it? I think just have
can't
two
win.
separate
You
sets
can't
of
win.
tag team titles and give them the time. Build them
they're
up
not
and
get-
give them the
they're not
time
gonna
and
give it- They're not.
attention.
He's not. They're not going to
build a
give them
women's
the
tag
time.
team division. There's enough.
I
There's enough
don't
to
think.
go
I
around.
don't think it's needed. Look how bad has
We know.
TNA's knockout. We're going to get onto this obviously with the backstage thing, but how's bad has
Super
TNA's
aware.
knockouts? Look at TNA's knockouts tag team division. They've been terrible for years.
Well, actually, they were fantastic for years, and in the
Really
last
good
couple
for
of
years.
years, they've been bad.
No,
it was
they've
actually,
always
been
for the
down.
majority of their existence, they were actually amazing.
Allison,
It's the last
team.
couple of years it's fallen off.
Allison, the last team before they retired was OBD and Eric Young.
ODB.
That's not a good sentiment on how those titles ended
That's
in their first initial run.
Intergender.
We're
There
getting,
you go.
let's
not.
let's end this. Let's end this because we can go about this for circles and years. We'll go around like a goddamn NASCAR track. Let's just get into the final one.
All right.
You can't change my mind. I'm sorry, bro.
Well,
I didn't want to.
Yeah. We do have.
I don't care.
Firstly, Fernando says, I disagree, but understand what you're saying, Soul, but call me crazy. I still have faith in Tony. I I have faith in Tony. I think it's just he needs to give the women's division more time, and I think the amount of people who are saying it now, and also I think it's to the point where sponsors are a little bit aware too. So I think they are having their hand forced a little bit, but they are clearly over the last couple of months giving the women more and more time. So I do think finally, long overdue, they are going in the right direction in AEW, and their division right now is absolutely stacked.